As far as we know, the first case of coronavirus was registered in South Korea when a Chinese woman traveled to South Korea from China on the 20th of January 2020. About 1 month later, Shincheonji started being involved in the coronavirus crisis. This happened when one of its members, patient 31, was tested positive. This lady, this female member of Shincheonji, had been admitted to hospital earlier in February 2020 because of some injuries following a minor car accident. She was not tested for coronavirus, even though she started feeling the symptoms of cold and cough that were attributed to an open window in her hospital room. When she left the hospital, then when she was discharged, she went back home and carried on her normal life as usual. This included also attending Shincheonji events, meetings and initiatives. She was not tested for coronavirus until the 18th of February 2020. Some media and some hospital staff claim that she was asked to be tested for coronavirus twice. However, there is no evidence of such request from the hospital staff. She says that as soon as she was asked to be tested on the 18th of February, she accepted to be tested and the result was positive. What is important is that she accepted to be tested, and what is also important is that Shincheonji leadership took all possible actions to prevent the spreading and to avoid the continual spreading of coronavirus within the community and outside the community. Very responsibly, Shincheonji leadership decided to shut down all the centers in Daegu, Korea, to suspend all the activities and ordered that all its members went into self-quarantine. This was done on the 18th of February 2020, which means on the same day when the leadership of Shincheonji learned about the fact that patient 31, one of its members, had been tested positive. It must be said, there is in Korea an atmosphere of persecution against a number of minority groups, and Shincheonji has been targeted as a cult, labeled as a cult for a very long time. Normally, it is the fundamentalist Christian churches that are organized as anti-cult groups that target Shincheonji since very long time. They took the coronavirus crisis as an additional chance to persecute Shincheonji, and they were also joined by other non-fundamentalist Christian groups that tried and followed the initiatives normally carried out by fundamentalist churches in order to stop the activities of Shincheonji in Korea by filing lawsuits in court and finding all possible ways to stop their activities. It must also be noted that in the public it's very common a sentiment of anti-Shincheonji. Also activities against this group are carried out by different organizations, and in connection to the coronavirus crisis, apparently also the Minister of Justice of Korea said that initiatives to stop the activities of Shincheonji in the country may be taken into account, also considering that polls say that the majority of Koreans are against Shincheonji. The facts are that as soon as Shincheonji learned about the fact that one of their members was positive to coronavirus, they took all possible actions to prevent and avoid the spreading of the virus in the community and outside the community. As I said, all the centers in Daegu were stopped, self-quarantine was ordered to all the members, and other activities were suspended. The following day, on the 19th of February 2020, the President of Korea, President Moon, requested that Shincheonji leadership provided a list of its members. As soon as requested, Shincheonji leadership started compiling the list. Of course, it will take some time to compile this list because of the large amount of members of the group. The list was handed to the authorities just within 6 days on the 25th of February 2020. The government, after reviewing the list, complained that the lists were inaccurate and incomplete because the number of members listed were less than the claims in the official group's statistics. The group explained that they were asked to provide a list of members, and they assumed the list of members was a list of members in Korea, while instead the official statistics also include students that are not technically members of Shincheonji, and they do not include, of course, also the list provided also did not include international members. So the government requested a list of students in Korea. So the group compiled the list of students of Shincheonji in Korea, and on the same day provided it to the government. It was the 27th of February 2020. Shincheonji only provided the list of students after assurances received that there would be no problems of confidentiality, because the concern was and still is that the names of students may be made available, as it seems it happened, to the media, and students may risk persecution in families, at workplace, or wherever else. Soon later, the government requested Shincheonji leadership also to provide a list of real estate, of properties. Shincheonji immediately compiled a list of 1,100 properties in Korea, which included owned properties, rented properties, parcels of land, and so on. The government said that the list were inaccurate and possibly incomplete. Well, it should be understandable by everyone that when you are asked to provide a list of hundreds, thousands of members and of over 1,000 of properties, and you handle those lists within few hours or possibly just few days, there may be inaccuracies. There is no evidence, as someone claimed, that Shincheonji leadership intentionally delayed the provision of lists. There is no evidence that the inaccuracies were intentional. What is true, what is clear and apparent is that as soon as Shincheonji leadership learned about the first case of infection in the community on the 18th of February, they did all their best to avoid the spreading of the virus within the community and outside the community. On the 18th of February, all the centers, all the activities were stopped in Daegu, Korea. On the 22nd, they were stopped outside Korea. So, in very good faith, all possible was done to prevent the spreading of the virus. On the 19th, they were asked to provide lists. They did their best to provide lists within few days. They were accused of lack of cooperation, they were accused of inaccuracies, but there is no evidence whatsoever that this happened. It is true that a manual with instruction on how to deal with the authorities was disclosed. Shincheonji leadership explained to the authorities that that book was the initiative of one of its members. It was not an initiative of Shincheonji itself. Furthermore, the Shincheonji leadership took disciplinary action with their member who had taken the initiative of compiling this book. The atmosphere in Korea is that Shincheonji is seen by many as a cult. Traditional fundamentalist churches don't see Shincheonji as a genuine Christian group, and they do their best to stop their activities in the country. Some officials of the public authority also share the same views and have tried for a very long time to stop the activities of Shincheonji. Shincheonji has been accused of manipulation, brainwashing, forced conversion. What is true is, one, there is no evidence of such allegations, and the other evidence on the other side is that members of Shincheonji for a long time have been kidnapped to return to the original faith of their families, most of times fundamentalist Christians. The coronavirus should not be an excuse to continue and persecute Shincheonji members. Let me recall a book, The Betrothed Lovers by Alessandro Manzoni. Alessandro Manzoni, in this book, tells the story of the plague in Milan in the year 1630. At that time of the plague in Milan, there were people called the anointers who were accused of spreading the plague in the country by intentionally anointing places in order to infect other people. That was the year 1630. We are in 2020. We expect persecution be stopped. No more hatred. No fake news. No unacceptable behavior. Human rights must be respected. Fundamental freedoms must be respected. Members of Shincheonji must be able to fully enjoy their fundamental freedoms and human rights, of course, while complying with all other laws and regulations like everyone. No witch hunting, no scapegoating, no persecution anymore. Thank you.